Well, according to the World Health Organization, pandemic is any disease that has taken a global nature in terms of its occurrence. So, if it's a pandemic, it means every part of the world is involved and can be affected. That means everybody on earth is necessarily a target or can be a victim. So, a pandemic involves everyone. And I think the last time we had a pandemic was in 1918. That's about 102 years ago when we had the Spanish flu. That was the name then. So a pandemic is any disease that has become global in nature. Everyone is involved. Okay, well, in a pandemic, unfortunately, uh, pandemic is an outbreak that has gone beyond what can be managed by even preventive measures. I say this because if you look at the kind of people that have been victims of this pandemic, you realize that preventive measures at this point, as good as they are, they may be too little, too late. Faith in God, incidentally, is the only solution during the pandemic. Go and look at history. If God refuses to step in a pandemic, well, if it's an epidemic or a disease outbreak, we can have preventive measures. Wash your hands, stay indoors, and things like that. Although what we are doing presently now, washing of hands, staying indoors, not moving, is going to prevent the spread from person to person. But I can assure you that how long can you keep people uh, uh, in isolation? You can't do that for a long time. Otherwise, you're going to have an outbreak of violence. People will always want to eat. People always want to go out and things like that. But I'm saying this because I remember the story of Apostle Babalola when there was something like that, a measles outbreak when in the southwest. That was in the 30s, 40s in Nigeria. When was it measles or smallpox? I can't remember. It was an epidemic, but it was a pandemic in its own nature because it happened in that locality, and there was nothing they could do. All the medical practitioners had done everything, but it didn't work because it was already spreading beyond humanism. Some people just woke up in the morning and found out that they were already affected. So there was nothing they could do. It was until he got there and he prayed, and then God stopped this. So why I'm saying this is because I'm beginning to see a lot of people putting more emphasis on prevention. Stay at home, do this is good. But I think more importantly, faith in God is very important to end this. Well, it's unfortunate that some churches, some mosques are not complying, as it were. But I think this is strange. That's never happened before. Never. Well, maybe for one Sunday, maybe if you have an election in a state that spilled over into Sunday, we understand that. But a situation whereby churches have been banned indefinitely, it's strange to the church leaders that their people can't come to church. And not all of them have the capability to reach their people via the internet. So it's two ways. I think first, it's like a culture shock for some of them. They are not yet used to the situation whereby people should stay at home. And then, but you should look at it from the perspective of those who really want to solve the problem and those who are just deliberately strong-headed. Some churches are telling their members to come, despite the fact that government believes that staying at home will save them more. Some are also believing that there is nothing that that the church is the place where you get solution. So even if there's a problem, you have to come to church. So there are two angles to it. But I think if the government of the day has given an instruction, the proper thing to do is to obey because they have the powers to do so. But I think we should also be careful about shutting down the church continuously because I think as long as we have not had a total shutdown, what I mean total shutdown, whereby nobody moves at all, except that happens, it's very difficult to keep the church locked for a long time without causing some problems.
All right.
Well, the answer to that question is simple. Well, I would look at it from like experimental perspective. If a nation has gone into total shutdown for some time, and the pandemic does not get better in terms of results, then that tells me that maybe shutdown does not provide complete solution. I'm giving you an example of Italy. Italy has been in total shutdown for about 3 weeks, about a month. I mean, total shutdown that you can't even go on the street. The policemen are there if they see you on the street to arrest you. Till last week, Italy still had thousands of deaths per week. So it tells me that maybe that is not the complete solution. Now let's look at faith, and I'll give you a country like Singapore. Singapore, though not a very large country, but the last time I checked, Singapore didn't have, well, the last time I checked, maybe less than 10 cases. What was the solution? Well, despite the fact that Singapore also has a very strong government that places a lot of emphasis on social distancing and preventive measures, but Singapore has a vibrant faith. I don't want to call it a vibrant church because that's not the main church in Singapore, but the Singaporeans have this revival in their midst of faith in God. And I've seen it work in Singapore. Italy, where you have total preventive measure, is not working. In America, for information, where you have one of the best healthcare systems in the world, they already have the highest number of tested cases in the world. So I am a bit worried that we are putting too much emphasis on prevention. Why we should all be preventing this? If we completely ignore faith in God, I think because the pandemic is simple, it's on the pit of hell. Any pandemic you are seeing in the world is not from any pandemic is from the pit of hell. So if the problem is from hell, the solution can only be from heaven. So if you prevent it, if you prevent from now to next year, I just heard Donald Trump yesterday saying that they are going to extend the shutdown in America till the end of April. In UK, they are going to extend it for another 3 months, which means complete shutdown of the country, and they're not getting better. So we need to have faith in God if this will get better.
Touching the preventive measure.
Unfortunately, religion is very, very delicate. If government is not careful, it will be seen as a religious war. Thankfully, it's not one religion alone. It's all the religions in the country. What we saw in Katsina about some days ago, where the religious faithful went to burn the police station because they enforced the no worship policy on the mosque. They arrested their imam and they went to burn down that mosque. It's very unfortunate. Firstly, I think government should carry the leadership of the religions along so that the leaders themselves can tell their followers why they are closed for the meantime. If they don't do that, it's going to be very, very difficult. They must be able to convince the leadership that there is a need for them to close for now. But the danger I'm seeing here is that, number one, till today, many markets are still open. Many public places are still open. The ATMs are still jam-packed. ATM machines are still jam-packed. Markets are still jam-packed in many areas. Car parks are still jam-packed. People still sit in cars. So the logical thing to ask is, why then do you think if they won't get coronavirus in those places, they'll get it in the church? So that's one thing. Another thing is that some religious leaders are afraid that for the first time in their lives, they are seeing government imposing their will on the church or the mosque, which has never always been under the church or the mosque. So they are afraid of seeing a kind of an end time scenario whereby the government will have power over the church. Normally, that doesn't happen. The church is independent to speak its mind. Pastors can speak against leaders of the country, speaking the mind of God, as it were. But in this scenario whereby the government now has power to shut down a church, I don't know if you saw the video of a wedding recently where the policemen went there and they stopped it. The pastor ran away because he was afraid of being arrested. You can imagine the emotional trauma of a pastor running away from policemen. So those are the things that some of those pastors are worried about. I think government should, if the government will do this, they should go about it in a very diplomatic way with wisdom, so that the church leaders themselves will be the one that will encourage their members to stay at home for the meantime. The word of hope at this time is to hope in God, to fear in God. Somebody was telling me that we can see the end time in action. If the rapture takes place, we'll see what we are seeing now is what will happen. Big churches will be empty. In fact, somebody said those big churches will be the venue for, because those are the Antichrist will need large venue for meetings. So, and our churches have the biggest venue. So those will be the places where the Antichrist will be holding his meetings with his agents. Because what's happening now, there are churches you can't go there. You can't even call the name of the Lord openly too much without being arrested. As people are saying, this is what will happen in the end time. So we are seeing an example of the end time. But apart from that, this also is a sign of what the devil can do if God withdraws his help. So we need to cry to God for help, that this will be over very soon. I can assure you, if this goes on for too long, very soon government will be able to pay salaries, food will finish out for many people, and there will be a lot of problems. So we need to pray seriously that this will end very soon, and I believe it will if we continue praying. But at the meantime, let's maintain hygiene, wash our hands, stay at home, and then if you feel anything in your body, quickly contact the medical personnel, and I believe God will help us in Jesus' name.